Hey everybody, it's Cherie from Desert Days Farms. Because you watched my bee video last week and got me more views than I've ever had, I was so excited. So I'm going to make a cooking video this week. I don't just do bees, I also garden. And so we're going to preserve some of the produce that I grew this summer. We actually harvested over 10 pounds of sweet potatoes this year, which was so exciting. I was nervous. I've never grown sweet potatoes, and my daughter-in-law and my grandkids were coming to visit, and they were growing for over 4 months, and they say you can harvest them after 4 months. And so I thought, maybe while they're here, we'll harvest. It'll be great. Please let there be one potato. Please let there be one potato. We got over 10 pounds. These are they're medium size, right? Lots of littles, mediums, but then we've already used the bigger ones. We had quite a few really big ones, but this is all that's left. And you can tell it's been about 6 weeks now, and the potatoes have decided to grow, which is nice for them. I won't waste this. This will go back into my garden in a different spot so that they can grow again. Another harvest of potatoes will be great. But I want to preserve as much of it as I can. We'll eat those at Thanksgiving and Christmas, and it's just a wonderful thing that they came out of my garden. Makes me so excited. But what can you do with sweet potatoes? Well, you can mash them, or you can put them in cubes, or you can throw them in stir fry or whatever. But I am going to pretend I made this up. One day I was making a Caesar salad with chicken for my husband and I for dinner, and we don't like croutons because croutons are hard and who knows what they're made out of, and we are kind of avoiding bread. And so what do we have? Well, I thought to myself, I got sweet potatoes. I'm going to make sweet potato croutons. And so that's what I did, and they're yummy, and I want to share that recipe with you guys. So first things, I am going to very carefully trim off these parts that are already growing that are just going to pop right into my garden. I'm going to just put them right in there, and then I will take off the skins. This one, maybe it has a lot growing on it, so we'll see how much of it we keep. But today, my job is to show you about the sweet potato croutons, and I'll do the rest of the preserving off camera. But just so you know, we have quite a few here that are possibilities for growing. This is a root, so I'll put that in the compost. And this one will go in the garden too. So this is the longest one we had. This was part of it, and there's another part of it somewhere. And I wish they were all shaped like this. This is going to be easy, like a giant carrot, you know. And I'm going to get this all peeled, and then I'm going to chop it into squares. So now I'm going to chop them into little cubes that will be the perfect size for little croutons. I'm going to do about 2 cups. If you're having guests, that's probably just the right amount to share with guests. And you could definitely keep them for a day or two to sprinkle on your salad the next day. So we have about a cup and a half of cubed sweet potatoes ready to go. But these aren't really cooked. And just sauteing them to make them like croutons would leave them too hard. So you have a few choices. You can boil them in some water, which is kind of what I'm going to do, but I'm cheating because I might be a homesteader, but I'm a modern homesteader. So they're going in my microwave for 3 minutes. And I'm going to check them after a minute and a half and see if they're soft or not. About a little over a cup is the perfect amount for us because we can use them a few times and use them up that way. It's a salad, not a potato salad, so they're just a garnish. It's not to be used as a lot of them, but I think that it's a really fun way to use sweet potatoes. So while those are doing their thing, I'm going to start taking off more of these sprouts that I'm going to use. And I know that I said I grew them, but I got a sweet potato and I put it in the water with I use bamboo skewers, and I put them in the water with the bamboo skewers. Ooh, nope. And then I got sprouts just like this, and I took these slips off, and I put them in water, and they sprouted so fast, you guys. I don't know if it's just because of the Arizona desert or if it's because that's how sweet potatoes roll, but wow, it was so fast that I had roots on my slips. So I definitely recommend trying out sweet potatoes, especially if you are living in a warm climate like we are. They just took to the climate, no problem. All right, let's check these. It's been half the time. Let's see if they've gotten soft enough. No, they're still pretty hard. Oh, yep. We're gonna give them another minute and a half. Okay. So yeah, sweet potatoes are amazing growers here in the desert. I heard so many people talk about them, and I kept thinking, oh, that just sounds hard with all the steps, with the slips and the rooting and all that. But you know what? It worked out so easily, and it was so exciting, and it was a big crop from just 3 slips. That's all I had when I started, was 3 slips. Now they need a ton of space. Sweet potatoes vine like crazy, and so they ended up probably covering up maybe 8 square feet in my garden. Just 3 slips covered up that much, but I also got 10 pounds. So can't complain about that. And actually, potatoes are one of the things I grow pretty well. I grew white potatoes too this year and got over 5 pounds of those. So potatoes seem to be happy in my area, in my garden, which is really nice. They don't take any pollinators. And speaking as a bee person, you would think I would be worried about the pollinators, and I am, and I do grow things for the pollinators, but it didn't seem like we were getting a lot of pollinators this year, even though I have my own hive. And so I was grateful for all the things that didn't require pollinators. And sweet potatoes and regular potatoes are one of those things, or 2 of those things. Oof, big mess. Okay. Don't worry about it later. So the sweet potatoes are clearly softer. You can tell just by looking at them, but I'm happy to stab one to show you, maybe. Yeah, they cut so easily. So I'm going to drain off the water. And then I'm going to come over to the stove. And I'm going to warm up the pan and add just a couple of teaspoons of olive oil. You could use other fats. If I'd had some bacon grease, maybe I would have used that. I prefer olive oil because I feel like it's good for us. So makes me happy to use olive oil. But you should do what makes you happy or whatever you have available. So I'm going to put my sweet potato cubes in. Okay. So while they're sauteing, you stir them around and make sure that they're getting browned evenly on all sides. And then I add a little bit of seasoning. First thing I like to add is my thyme. I grow my own thyme. Maybe I will do a video about that at some point, but I grow my own thyme because I use a lot of thyme and it grows well as long as it's not too hot. I usually grow it successfully in my garden in the summer when it's within the microclimate. So if it's near some things that are shading it and keeping it cooler, that really helps a lot. It has to have a lot of sunshine too. So I put in some thyme. And then the other thing I like to add is a little bit of cinnamon. So in this little cup, I had a quarter cup of cinnamon, a quarter teaspoon of cinnamon, a quarter teaspoon of salt, and surprisingly enough, a quarter teaspoon of sugar. And the reason is that little tiny bit of sugar makes them kind of shiny and just delicious. Succulent? I don't know. I'm an English teacher. You would think that I would have better access to adjectives, but just makes them yummy. I guess that's my adjective for the day. So between the thyme and that little tiny bit of cinnamon, sugar, and salt, they're just really tasty. And you just keep sauteing them until they're the color that you feel suits you. I like mine a little bit crispy, so I will leave it go just a little bit longer. Okay, you can see the little brown saute marks now. You know that they're just about done. And I have a dish to put them in so that I can save them for tonight's dinner. When we have our salad to dinner, these are going to get sprinkled right on top. And yeah, a very fun way to use sweet potatoes. All right, let's move on to our basil salt. This is the new rage, right? Everybody's talking about basil salt. And so I did a little investigation because guess what else I have too much of in my garden? Basil. So today I went out when I fed the chickens and I picked a bunch of basil, cut back one of my plants, and here it is for me to, that's hot, for me to take off the stems, and then we're going to measure out a packed third of a cup. Okay, but I want to get this washed really well. We have an automatic watering system, but I do have some pots that I have to water by hand. So when I do that, sometimes dirt sprays up. So we want to make sure everything's nice and clean and ready to be put into the food processor. I don't know about you guys, but my food processor is the loudest thing on earth. Do any of you have a good, quiet food processor? Because I'd sure like to know about it. I had one when we first got married. It was, and by the way, less than 2 months now until our 40th wedding anniversary. How's that for bragging? I'm bragging. But when we got married, we had a really good food processor, but it got old and I don't know. Seemed like it was time to get a new one. So I got a new one. The thing was so loud. And guess what? This is a new one and it's loud too. Food processors and blenders are just very loud beasts, I'm afraid. So if you have any suggestions, I'm all ears, definitely. But yeah, this basil salt is the newest thing, and people are talking about you can do it with any of the herbs in your garden, right? So if you're growing rosemary or if you're growing thyme, anything works as far as this salt process goes. And it does make it more exciting. I know that I've had salt from wasabi salt from Japan, which is just wasabi ground up with salt. Very, very cool. So the recipe that I found, and just Google a recipe and find one that you like, but the recipe that I'm using today is one that I found that just calls for a third of a cup of packed basil leaves, washed obviously. I'm hoping that I'll be able to make these 2 jars filled. It takes a cup of salt, so that seems like it would be a good amount to fit in those 2 jars. I want to keep one, and we have some wonderful neighbors that we absolutely adore who took us out to dinner a few weeks ago, and I would love to take them a set of basil salt. I think they would enjoy that. So I'm hoping that that'll work out. Now, I'm not done with all of that. I'll process it a different way later, but this looks like it's enough for the third of a cup of basil salt. Third of a cup of basil. Okay. Oh, missed one. All right. I don't want to turn it too much into paste, and that's why we have to dry it so much. So we don't, the food processor will just take it down to the nub basically, and we don't want to have paste. All right, so I'm going to take this. All right, that's close enough to a third. Maybe it's a little bit over, but that's okay. So we're going to come over here to the noisy food processor and dump that in. And I'm just going to try to put it around evenly. And then I'm going to add a cup of salt. Now, the salt, they recommend sea salt or pink Himalayan or whatever. I had this sea salt, so I'm going to use it. I kind of wish it was a little bit chunkier, but it is what I had, so hopefully it works. All right, sorry, we're going to pulse this first. Definitely don't want it to turn to paste, so I'm going to add the salt. And I'm going to clean off the edges so we get all that yummy basil in there. Didn't spend all that time growing it to have it stick to the edges. Ooh, it smells amazing. Oh my gosh, you guys, it smells so good. We don't have smell-o-vision, but I promise it smells so yummy. So our job now is to put it onto the parchment. Yes, hands were invented before forks. And my hands are relatively clean. So I'm gonna smoosh this down a little bit. So what we're doing now is we're gonna put this in the oven to dry for about 30 minutes. You put it at a really low heat. It's gonna be at 220. I've already heated the oven. And we're gonna let it dry for 15, then we'll stir it, and then we'll let it do the other 15, okay? All right. I'm so excited. It smells so good. Okay. And because we eat a lot of salad with meat on it, it's a wonderful idea to make the meat taste yummy without adding too many calories. So we are going to do that today with our yummy basil salt. Okay, back in 15 minutes. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes, so we're going to pull it out and stir it so that nothing browns or anything like that. It's a low temperature, it's only 220, so no browning should occur, but we just want to make sure that it's evenly drying. You can see that it's a little damp on the bottom still. Break up those clumps so that it has a better chance of drying. And we're going to set it for 15 more minutes. And while we're doing that, just for a minute, I want to talk to you about these. Do these look at all familiar to you? They should. They're those wee yogurt cups, okay? And I just couldn't throw them away. I just kept saving them because, I mean, guys, they're glass, they're cute, whatever. I was saving them. No idea what for. Then I was scrolling around Amazon, because it's something I do occasionally, and I saw these. These are covers made exactly for wee yogurt cups. And look how cute they are. They're wooden with the little engraving. Super adorable. So it makes gift giving so easy. You don't feel guilty. You're recycling the cups. You've got a perfect lid. I'm so excited about these. Everybody should get these. Just telling you. All right. The salt's working. We'll be back in a minute to see when it's complete. Okay, the beeper just went off. The timer just went off, and I think it is ready to come out. Yeah, it looks dry. It feels dry. Awesome. So excited about it. It just smells completely amazing. So we're going to let it cool, and then we're going to put it in those cute little wee yogurt jars with the special covers that they sell at Amazon and give it as a gift. All right, it's filled up nicely. We pop the cover on, and now we have the perfect gift. That was free jar, cheap salt. I grew the basil. These were probably the most expensive part, the cute little covers, but a really inexpensive gift, especially if you're thinking about getting prepared for Christmas. This is a great thing. It says it lasts 3 to 4 months. I would do it at the last minute so that they had it fresh for as long as possible, but perfect present and a fun new thing that everybody's excited about. So enjoy.